Hello, my name is Bella Lewis. My CCR number is 8122, and I'll be showing you my creative process through creating this magazine. My cover inspirations were Modern Dog and City Dog. I love the way both of the magazines had a bold font of the word dog because that's what the magazine is mostly leaning towards, and that's the main subject of the magazine. I also love how they have bold fonts of the cover lines, and I like how it's crowded, especially in Modern Dog, because it mostly sustains dogs, and I like how they have the thumbnails of different dog genres and which are included in the magazine. And I like how they have this plus sign indicating care for dogs. I also like how Modern Magazine made the audience more intrigued into what they're viewing. I also love how Modern Magazine and City Dog Magazine is an outside scenery because dogs enjoy being outside, and being able to be free while being outside is the best feeling ever for dogs and even humans. For my first idea on my cover page, I decided to add a similar design towards Modern Magazine and City Magazine. I included a bold font like Modern Magazine and City Dog Magazine. Instead of adding dog, I added friends because my magazine is called Furry Friends. I also added bold fonts for my cover lines, like training and health, 10 ways to trick your owner into getting treats, fun subjects for the audience to see. I also included an outside scenery for my magazine because, as I said, dogs love being outside, and this photo represents the dogs being able to be free and feeling that fresh air on their face. But I did decide to change the look towards my magazine, which leads to me challenging my codes and conventions. By changing the way my cover looks, I added pieces of ripped paper to create this messy look because dogs can be messy. They tend to tear up things when they're young, like when they're puppies, or when they usually don't get their way. But I still have that outside scenery poking through to create a feeling that dogs love being outside and it's a part of who they are. But I wanted to create this kind of fashion look. But dog magazines usually don't have fashion looks because they're more towards the plain side of magazine genres. They usually don't have any fancy fonts or designs as my magazine genre does. I included the bold font like in City Dog Magazine and Modern Dog Magazine. I also have the date of my magazine when it was published. My cover lines include training and health, 10 ways to trick your owner into getting free treats, and dog equipment. It's mostly fun and entertaining things to keep the audience entertained and engaged. The overall marketing practice of this magazine that it supports organizations that helps dogs. That's why it includes dog equipment and fun ways of getting treats and training and help. As well as the barcode, it's the main factor in the magazine, as well as the price for the magazine. And these colors of the ripped pieces of paper represent spring breaking through, and that's when dogs can thrive. Because some dogs love sitting out in the hot sun. And these bright colors represent spring and summer. And this whole magazine of mine is going to be represented by spring and the bright colors it's going to come up with. That's why I still have the outside scenery of seasons, because it is spring and summer is poking around the corner. That's what these pieces of paper represent. For my table of contents references, I used Summer of 2020 and Dog Fancy Magazine. What I mostly used for my references of my table of contents was the page numbers. I just wanted a format to help me guide me for what I'm looking for. But I mostly lean towards Dog Fancy Magazine because I love when magazines are filled with information and filled with different variations of things, like the cover on Modern Dog Magazine. But I don't like it to be filled so much of information to the point where someone feels like they don't want to read or look at your magazine because some individuals don't enjoy reading as much as others. So I limited that in my magazine. What I also included in my magazine is the references of the table of contents in Dog Fancy Magazine, which I put Furry Friends because that's the name of my magazine, and the page references and pictures on Dog Fancy Magazine on the right side of the paper, as you can see. I included in my table of contents, as well as some descriptions for the pictures. I included the descriptions, something different towards what I was leaning for. It's just about the dog's journey and the description of what they look like. And I just wanted them to know the adventures that the dogs are going through. And the photo techniques I used was I used a mid shot and kind of like a close-up for these, and that created that great look for what I was going for. My dog model was sitting down, and I was able to capture her sticking out her beautiful pink tongue, and I was able to also capture on my other dog model to sit there and pose for me, as well as a Yorkie, and I captured him winking, which is pretty cool. For my 2-page spread inspiration, I used Tessa's long journey home. I love the way that they added the bold picture of the dog, and obviously they have paragraphs, which I will be including in my 2-page spread. As well as Did Somebody Say Food, because I love the way that they wrote it in red, because it really stands out and it signifies love, and that love signification implies to food, because dogs love food. I like how the dog is looking at the food because it, yes, it does signify the love for the food, but you can tell that the dog is more interested in the meat than the healthy food, because like a stereotype is people usually go for the more good looking food than the green in the food, which could signify for dogs as well. I also used a squirrel reference magazine because I love the layout. Even though it's not a dog magazine, it's still an animal magazine. It's similar to Tessa's Long Journey Home because they have a big picture that catches the audience eye, as well as the description and paragraphs of what it's about. As well as the border, I love the dark green border. It really stands out to me. And it's different from any other two-page spread that I've seen. So what I've included in my magazine is similar to did somebody see food, which instead of saying food, I said treats. Because dogs get a chance to have a small treat, but not a whole meal, which is great for when you want to teach a dog, or you just want to give your dog a quick snack. I also included the border that is in the Squirrel magazine, which includes nutrients, diets for dogs, as well as a recipe for a fun activity you could do for your dog and to entertain yourself if you become bored. And you can get these at any local grocery store, or it may be in your home. And you can see the dogs peeking out because, did somebody say treats? Yes, they did. On the right side of my 2-page spread, we have that bold picture of my dog, which is similar to Tessa's Long Journey as well. I included some greenery because dogs love being outside, and I wanted to include that summer and spring feeling. While I included that, I matched the subtitles and the text towards the flowers and the bushes. My original target audience was going to be mostly around millennials, the age of 25 and 54, as well as individuals who are dog lovers and people who love their dogs and like they're part of their family. But I decided to make my target audience around 16 to 65 plus because I feel as though young individuals also love and are looking for puppies or middle-aged dogs to be a family friend or a part of their family. The way I use distribution practices is you can find my free magazines on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for further information about dogs and health and nutrition. The way I use synergy in my magazine is to promote my magazine through my socials. The way I use technological convergence is I advertise on the websites that you can look up on Google, as well as social media and my collaborations. My production processes is when I'm writing my content for magazines. I sell and advertise my magazine. You can find my magazine on Amazon or grocery stores and even bookstores. They are reasonable prices, so they are very affordable and they will be delivered to your door. Thank you so much for tuning in to my presentation, and being able to watch this. Thank you so much.